everyone, Bandit here. Welcome back to the Bandit Flight Simmer channel. Today we're back in the Diamond DA62 and we're going to be doing the penultimate flight of our Around the World series. We're in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and we're going to be flying to Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's about a 4-hour, 15-minute flight across the prairies of Canada. Weather is good. It's kind of broken cloud in both areas. A little bit gusty winds here in Edmonton, and winds are out of the southeast in Winnipeg. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, take the time to subscribe. Welcome aboard, and sign up for the notifications, and you'll see future videos when I release them. Everybody who's subscribed to the channel, welcome back. I appreciate you following me along in this series. It's been a great trip so far. We're almost done. 2 more trips to go, and we'll finish up in London, Ontario in a couple of trips from now. So without further ado, let's hop in the airplane and get things set up for our trip today to Winnipeg. Okay, we'll start by getting our electric master on. Getting the avionics set up here. Got lots of fuel today. Always take off with a full tank of gas. Gives you lots of options, but today's flight's only about 4 hours, 15 minutes, so we should have lots of extra fuel. Let's get into the MFD and we'll start with our flight plan. So we're going to be departing Edmonton, CYEG. And our first waypoint today is going to be Riley, R-Y-L-E-Y. Then direct to Saskatoon VOR YXE. And then from there we're going to select a menu, load an airway, and the airway we're going to be taking is the Victor 306, sorry, Victor 302, and we're taking that to Victor Lima Romeo VOR. That looks good. We'll load that, and we'll put in our destination. From Victor Lima Romeo, we're doing the Ambo 3 arrival. We'll load that a little bit later. So Charlie, Yankee, Whiskey, Golf is Winnipeg. So that's our route. And we'll just range out, just have a look at that. So Winnipeg, Saskatoon, to Victor, Quebec Victor, VLR, Winnipeg. Looks pretty straight shot across the prairies there. So there's our flight plan loaded in. The departure we're going to be doing off of runway 02, and that will be the Gabet departure off of runway 2. So we go to the procedure, select our departure, and we're doing the Gabet 1, sorry. Off runway 2, it's climb to 2,900 feet, then a VO2 Gabet and manual sequence for heading, so that looks good. We'll enter that. We'll just range in on that, see how that looks. So that's pretty good. The winds are 320 at 11 gusting 15. So 30 would be into wind, but this is a lot shorter taxi. And it's just a bit of a crosswind component off of 02. So we'll take that. Then it's from Gabbett's right turn out to Riley. And we're going to be doing our flight plan altitude of 15,000 feet. So our flight plan is all ready to go. The departure has an assigned altitude of 5,000 feet. So we'll put that in our altitude. Runway heading is 020. I'll just throw that in there as well. And the altimeter, we'll set that. 2943. There we go. I think we're all ready to start, so we're all programmed up. I think it looks good. So we'll put our position lights on. We'll prime the fuel, check that our fuel switches are on, get our engine masters on. Okay, fuel is primed, and it's clear to the right, clear to the left. So we'll start the right engine. It's a good start. T's and P's are coming up. Start the left engine. And also a good start. Looks pretty good. We'll get our flap set for takeoff. Turn our avionics master on. Get rid of these red crossouts for the radios. Everything looks pretty good. So I think we're ready to taxi. We'll just do an intersection takeoff. It's a 11,000 foot runway here, so we're going to take off around mid position, which give us lots of at least 6,000 feet. Elevation here is 2,400 feet, so it is a higher density altitude, but that's still way more runway than we need. So let's get the taxi light on and release the parking brake, and we'll start heading out. Interesting little vehicle, little forklift cruising along in front of us here. See some traffic off in the distance there. So the airport elevation looks good. We got 5,000 feet set. Runway heading is set. Flaps are at takeoff. So I'll get our strobe light on, landing light on, taxi light off, pumps on, get our pitot heat on. Everything looks pretty good. Just clear to the left, clear to the right. Temperatures and pressures are all looking good in the green. Lined up on runway 2. So runway heading looks good. And we'll apply full power. Got 100%, both engines, T's and P's are good, airspeed's alive. So 80 knots, rotate. Get the gear up. Oh, big wind shear there. Speed is good, we get the flaps up. We got that big crosswind pushing us off there, so we'll get back over. There we go. So through 400 feet, we'll get the autopilot on. Flight level change. Do 110, activate nav. And one thing I usually forget with this airplane is getting the transponder on. So we will just go alt on. Squawking 7000 is fine. There's 4 for 5000. Contact center, and he would clear us probably a higher altitude, so let's just say we got clear to 15,000 feet. We'll dial that in. And we're clear direct Riley, which is the first fix on our flight plan. So we'll open our flight plan. And whoops. Sometimes I hit this enter knob by mistake. So flight plan. Get our cursor, we'll go to Riley. Direct to, enter, activate. And there we go, off to Riley. Okay, we'll set our climb power. And we'll get our pumps off now. So gear is up, flaps are up. Temperatures and pressures are good, climb power is set. We're in autopilot's arm, flight level change, climbing 110 and 20 knots, direct Riley with the GPS active, so everything's looking pretty good. Let's take a look outside and see how the departure looks outside. A little bit cloudy. Hopefully get above the cloud, and we're cruising to Winnipeg. A lot to see as we're crossing over the prairies today. So we'll continue the climb, and we'll set our cruise power, and we will try to, I did the flight plan for 4 hours 15 minutes at 75% power, which is normal cruise. We'll try to bump it up a bit, see if we can shorten that up a bit. We got lots of extra gas. We'll see how that looks when we level off and kind of play with our fuel as we level off. The weather's good in Winnipeg, so not too worried about any adverse weather there. Okay, so I'll check in with you at the top of climb, and we'll get ourselves set up for the cruise portion. See you there in a little bit. Okay, we leveled off over the winter prairie landscape here. It's kind of broken cloud. We're kind of just in and out of the tops of the broken cloud layer. Didn't pick up any icing on the climb out, so that was pretty good. So let's take a look at our status. I left the power at 85%. We'll check that for initial fuel and see how it looks. So if I come down here, we'll hit the lean button. That'll give our kind of fuel calculation. So we got 614 miles to go. We're doing 196 knots ground speed. We got a little bit of a, mostly crosswind, a little bit of a push, doing 191, so we only got about a 5 knot tailwind component. But it's pretty good true airspeed at this power setting. And it says here endurance 4.8 hours, so that's pretty good, and 938 miles at this fuel flow. So I think it's worth keeping at 85 for now. That'll speed up the trip, probably knock like a good 15 minutes off our flight time. So temperatures and pressures all look good. We got lots of gas. See how it goes here. And we'll stick with that 85% power setting. I got the alt air on in case we have any fuel freezing problems. So I think it should be pretty good for our flight today. Might be in and out of the tops of the clouds. It's pretty cold. The temperature is -23, so we shouldn't get any icing at this altitude. I find lately with the icing at the colder temperatures, I haven't been picking any up in this aircraft, which is good, which is pretty normal for real icing effects, I think. Okay, so I'll check in with you a little further along route. It's going to be a quick flight today, so I might have time to maybe just go over, we'll do it when we do the approach in Winnipeg, we can do a missed approach and then come around and set ourselves up for another approach and go through that procedure. We'll see how things go time-wise, but should be pretty good. So I'll check in with you a little further along the route here, and we'll get an update on our fuel, see how things are looking, and start our fuel transfer as we normally do once we burn off a little bit of gas. So I'll see you probably about the halfway point. See you there in a bit. Okay, we're about halfway. Let's take a look and see how things are going with the fuel. Still cruising along above most of the cloud here. And right now we got a 13 knot tailwind. True airspeed's looking pretty good. Gives us a ground speed of 201 knots, which is not too bad. And if we look at our fuel, we're down, still got our full LOX tanks. We're down to about 9 gallons a side there. We go to the engine, see how it goes. We're still at 85% power. We got 54 gallons remaining, and our endurance is 3.2, 638 miles, and we got 300 miles to go. So we have lots of gas. It's looking pretty good. Probably a good time to turn on our aux fuel. So we'll turn those on. Just confirm our left, right aux pumps are on, and then we'll transfer that fuel over. Another thing we can do here, I had Saskatoon VOR on number 2 nav. If you want to find out a VOR frequency without having to look on your charts, it's really easy to do. If we go to the flight plan page, we bring up our cursor and you highlight over the next VOR we're going to is Yankee Quebec Victor. And if I just hit enter, it's going to bring up that VOR information where it is that long, and it's also got the frequency of 15.8. And if I hit the cursor and highlight over 15.8 and hit enter, it will put it into our standby, and then we can just swap it out. So if I go to the COM now, if I hit, we're highlighted on the frequency there, swap it out, and there's Yankee Quebec Victor nav 2. And there we go, 82 miles away. So nice easy way to find nav frequencies if for navies on your airways. And you can also look them up in as well. You can just come into your inner knob here and you can go to waypoint and you can cursor down to VOR information, and then you can type in a VOR up here and then get the information up here as well. So lots of great ways to get that information without having to look it up on your charts. Okay, so we got our fuel transfer going. Get that complete. Lots of gas, everything's looking pretty good. Just hop outside, have a look around. Still over the prairies here. Still winter here in the prairies in Canada. So when we get a little closer, we'll set up our arrival and our approach into Winnipeg. Weather's still good there. We can just go have a look at the latest weather still. Just cursor down to your destination airport, Winnipeg. Winds 110, 16 gusting 24, 4 miles. Oh, light rain showers now, 3,000 overcast. So it has come down a little bit. And 2947 on the altimeter. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's still VFR technically, but so I think we'll plan on the approach for 13 based on the winds. And we'll set that up when we get a little bit closer. Okay, so I'll check in with you as we get probably closer to VLR here, which is the start of the arrival. And we'll load up our arrival and approach and get the latest weather. So I'll see you there in a little bit. Okay, we're about 130 miles back from starting the arrival into Winnipeg. Still cruising along nicely. Fuel transfer is almost done. We got about 1 gallon of ox fuel in each tank, so that'll be done momentarily. So we'll shut that off soon. And let's take a look at, so VLR is our next fix here. It's Langworth VOR. And we're going to be planning the Amble 3 arrival from Langworth, so Langworth to Amble. And that's at, we're going to be using runway 13, so that's 11,000 feet or above. And then Elrud and then Vogig links up to runway 13, 3,000 or above, max 190. So that's going to be the, and then we'll plan on the ILS for runway 13 via Vogig, so straight in via Vogig, so that's what we'll load up for the approach. We'll just double check the weather. And the latest weather in Winnipeg. And we have winds 110 at 16 gusting 21, still 4 miles light rain. So that favors runway 11, so that's what we'll plan. So let's load that up in the procedure. See some weather on the weather radar up ahead there, so there is some rain showers in the area. So procedure, we'll load in the arrival first. The Amble 3 for 13. We're coming in via Victor Lima Romeo. And Amble, Elrud, Vogig, that looks good. We'll enter that, or load that, sorry. So that's loaded in there. Next we'll choose the approach, and we're going to do the ILS Zulu 13. And we are going to do that via, it doesn't give Vogig as a option. So if we choose either, so if we look here, it only gives us Kepka and Avsun. Usually it should give you the straight in option via Vogig as well, but it doesn't. So if we choose either one of these is fine, and then we can, it'll have the fixed Vogig in there. So we'll choose Avsun. Minimums, we might as well throw that in because it's the rain showers there, so the minimums are 894 feet. So we'll turn that on. Put in 894 feet. Round it as close as possible, so, or sorry, 984, so 9, make it 980. And that looks good. So Vogig is in there. And then we'll load that up. Which is not approved for GPS guidance. Okay, we'll load the approach. So that's all in there. So our flight plan is loaded up, ready to go. So off the Vogig. And we don't need the Avsun in there, so we can clear that. And there we go. So that looks a little bit better. If we range out, we can see it comes in by VLR, Amble, Ilrud straight into VOGIG there. So that looks pretty good. So there's our approach all set up, ready to go. That'll get us in there. So our top of descent is in 43 minutes. So I'll check in with you as we get close to the top of descent, and we'll start the approach into Winnipeg. And I think our aux pumps are almost done, complete. We haven't got the tanks empty yet, so we still got a few minutes to clean that up. But fuel still looks pretty good. So I'll see you as we get closer to the top descent in a few minutes. Well, we're just coming up to our top of descent. Weather's pretty much the same, some rain showers ahead. And before we get going here, if you're new to the channel, hit the like button there, subscribe, sign up for notifications, and join us for more videos like this in the future. Appreciate it. So let's hop inside the cockpit. And top of descent is just coming up here. It's a few minutes away. 3 minutes. We'll get the latest weather again in Winnipeg. So 17 Zulu weather, 1726. It's currently just after 18, but it hasn't come out yet. 170, 17 gusting 23, 15 miles light rain showers, and overcast 5,400 feet, 3 degrees, 2948. So we'll update our altimeter 2948. A little bit of traffic in the area there. So if we look at the arrival, we'll say ATC has cleared us to 3,000 feet, and that's the initial altitude at VOGIG for the approach. So if we go over to our panel here, we can put in 15,000 feet, or 3,000 feet, sorry. 3,000 feet is set, and if we engage VNAV, VNAV path is armed, and then we should be starting our descent here momentarily. The weather radar shows rain showers in the area here, so if we look at that, big massive rain showers around the Winnipeg area. It's just light rain right now. Actually, I looked at the real weather radar, and it was fairly similar, actually. It's quite interesting. It basically started just south of the lake here, and then continued into Winnipeg and further out, so it was pretty close. So that's interesting. Okay, so we'll be starting our descent here momentarily. So let's just go over the arrival again. So we're coming in via Langgrith. Amble is 11,000 or above. And you can see that as our magenta, that's our hard altitude, and the next altitude is 3,000 for VOGIG. So that's the straight in to the ILS. If we look at the ILS, runway 13. So we're going to be planning the ILS 13, course is 135. We got our frequencies of 109.5 are already dialed in from loading the approach. And we're going to be crossing the FAF at 2150 down to minimums of 984. We set 980 in our barrel bug. And the venomous approach is straight ahead to 3000 to Musib. So that's the approach we're going to be planning. So that looks good. When we get closer to the approach, we should automatically switch over to the ILS. So let's see how things are looking. The descent is pretty much imminent now. Less than a minute to go, and we should show VPath is now captured, and off we go. And I'm going to keep the power up, not quite 85. I'll set it at a 70%, but we'll keep the speed up as much as we can here. So looking good. So I'll catch up with you in a few minutes as we get a little bit closer to the ILS there. We'll just monitor the descent, and VNAV does a great job in meeting those altitude restrictions, so we should be able to cross Amble at or above 11,000 feet according to the number indicated here. So I'll see you as we get a little closer to the LS. Okay, we're continuing the descent here. We're just coming up to 10,000 feet, so I'll throw the landing light on. Throw a little curveball at us here. Let's just say ATC called us and said that runway 11 was closed. Aircraft blew a tire on the runway, so we have to land on runway 18. They asked us which approach we'd like to do. So take a quick look at the approaches available, and we're coming in to LRUD now, but to go on the arrival it's by MPAP some. So if I look at the RNAV RMP for 18, they have a nice transition here, MPAP. So let's just say we request the RNAV Yankee runway 18 via MPAP. So ATC would say, okay, you're cleared direct MPAP, anticipate the RNAV Yankee runway 18. So what's the quickest way to do that? Well, so we want to go direct MPAP, we can go direct to and put MPAP in and then clean everything up after, but a quicker way might be just to go to procedure and go to select approach, select the RNAV Yankee 18, pick MPAP, we'll adjust the baro after, and if we just activate that approach it should take us right there, and then we're off direct MPAP. And the initial altitude is 6,000, so let's just say he re-cleared us to 6,000 feet till we're cleared for the approach. So there's 6,000 feet, and that looks good. So we look at the waypoints and they all look good. MPAP, Tulax, Orak, so coming in there, that looks pretty good. So the inbound course 185, the minimums are going to be 1134, so we can go change that. So now we got the approach loaded, we're direct MPAP, it's that easy. Like I said, you also have the option of going, if you have more time, going direct to MPAP, and then that'll just put that in there for now, and then you can get rid of this other stuff and clean it up as required. So that looks pretty good. We're 8,000 for 6,000 now. We're just waiting for clearance for the approach. So let's change our minimums to 1134. So we can do that over here. So we can go time of reference, go down to our minimums, put in 1130, 1140, we'll just round it up. So that's good. So now we got our new barrel minimums in there. And we quickly brief the approach. So we're going via MPAP 6,000. We're going to do this nice tangential RMP approach again. And inbound course is 185, crossing Orak at 2100, down to minimums of 1134. Runway elevation 780, straight ahead missed approach to Noxum 3,000 feet. So that is looking good. So say ATC said, okay, you're now cleared for the approach. So I'll put the FAF altitude in now, which is 2,100 feet. We'll keep the VNAV path descent going. We have 6,000 in to protect us for that first fix, and then we'll arm the approach when we get on final. So I need to engage VNAV here again. So VPath is armed, and we have 2,100 feet set, and we have a 6,000, so we'll see how it does for MPAP here. Should level off at 6,000, but the VNAV hasn't captured yet, so it might have to level off here. Let's just keep an eye on it, and it doesn't look like it's going to level off, so I'm just going to hit Alt. So we'll hit Alt hold here, and we'll just level off, and then we'll wait for the VNAV path to come in and hopefully capture here as we hit MPAP. And we're not picking up any icing yet, so that looks pretty good. Just coming up to MPAP in 2 miles. have the path armed, so hopefully it should pick it up again. We do have a top of descent here. I'm not seeing the path come in here yet. Now we did activate the approach, so we did get the V path back in, so now we can put in our lower altitude of, so we got 2100 feet here. V path is active, our descent is going, so that's something that we want to keep an eye on, because for some reason it didn't pick up the path again until we hit MPAP there, so you had to manually level off there. So it wasn't a big deal. You just want to keep an eye, make sure that this is enunciated properly. It went back to arming the path instead of capture the path when we switched the approach there. But it all looks good now. We got 2100 feet in, we've got V path captured. Continuing descent, looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll start, keep the speed where it is right now. And we're on that nice tangent coming in on the approach. We're going to cross the FAF there at 2100 feet, so that looks good. And the missed approach is in there as well. See the rain showers, keep an eye on the wings. We're getting a little bit of icing going on there. You can see it just a little bit on the windscreen there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the De-Ice. Put a little Windshield De-Ice on. Oh, sorry, that's not the right one. Sorry, this one right here. Put it on normal. And there we go. So we got some de-icing going on. We're set, everything looks pretty good. And all we need to do now is arm the approach when we turn on the final here. Make that transition. So I'll start bringing the power back. We want to start getting slowed down so we can get the gear here momentarily. So bring it back to about 50%. Speed's in the green, which is good. So they didn't give us much time to set up that approach. Now if you feel you're rushed in real life, I would just say ask ATC to give us radar vectors till we could get set up, because sometimes you can't get things set up that fast. But we got it done. And we'll continue inbound here. It doesn't happen often, but you do get runway changes short notice like that. So the approach is looking pretty good still. So we're going to have a pretty good crosswind on final here, because the winds were 100, gusting 23, so that's pretty good crosswind. We landed on 18, so it's pretty much 80 degrees off. You can see it's still a pretty good wind up here, 120 at 32. But if runway 11 is closed, I guess we don't have any other option. So since we're on final here, the weather's not too bad. What I'm going to do is I'll just show you this emergency gear. So if I hit this, you're going to see emergency gear, and you see our gear start coming down as they free fall out of position there. So it will take a little while. So it doesn't happen very fast. You want to give yourself enough time. And you can see check gear, emergency gear extension there now. So you don't want to do this until you know that you're going to be committed to landing, because once I've done this now, there's no way to bring that gear back up. You still want to put the gear handle down, because in order to get all your 3 green, you want the gear handle in the down position. And you can see it's just free falling, nice and slow. Slowly coming down there. And it's just the airflow and gravity that's gonna put it down. So there's 1,000 feet to go. Just waiting for the other 2 green. Speed is good. We can get our first notch of flap out. Making the turn to final. I'm going to arm the approach. So approach is armed. We've got the glide slope armed. Okay, we got the left main down now. Just waiting for the right main now. Definitely want to give yourself enough time to do this. There we go, we got 3 green now. And flaps are at approach. I'm going to put the boost pumps on. Landing light is on. Speeds come back. We'll shoot for about, well, we got pretty good strong winds. I'll keep the speed at about 100 knots on short final here. A little bit of power off, keep the speed coming back. Making that nice turn to final. Should capture the glide path, so the glide path is armed. We should capture it at the FAF there. You can see it coming in now. And we are kind of visual with the ground. Visibility ahead is, that's about what they were calling 4 miles, so that looks pretty good. The runway heading in 185 in case we need that. So speed's coming back nicely. Still making the turn to final. There we go. We captured the glide path. So now we'll just keep coming in and looking for the approach lights. We're still in the rain. Bring the power back a little bit. Get the speed back. And we got our barrel minimum set at 1140. I think it's pretty good now. I can turn the alt-air off. Do have our emergency gear extension warning, but we do have 3 green. Just got approach flaps to go. Or landing flaps to go, sorry. Just looking ahead for the approach lights. Well, I wasn't expecting the weather to be this rainy in Winnipeg, but here you go. There's the runway right there. You can see that big crosswind we have. Right now it's 16 knots pretty much from 100, so with pretty much what they advertise. So I'll get the final flap in. Let speed bleed off to 100. We have the runway in sight. It's looking good. Just through minimums now. We'll continue. Get the autopilot off. Speeds come back nicely. Go. Touchdown. There we go. Welcome to Winnipeg. A little rainier here than I planned, but still made it in no problem. So we got a long taxi to the FBO here at the end there, so I'll check in with you when we clear the runway at the end, and then we'll taxi into the FBO. Okay, we're just coming up to the end of the runway. Boy, it takes a long time to taxi down an 11,000 foot runway in this airplane. But here we are, clearing at the end. We get clear, we'll get the lane light off, strobe light off, taxi light on, get the fuel pumps off, pitot heat off, get our flaps up, and the FBO should be up here to the right. So it was a pretty good flight to Winnipeg today. The weather overall wasn't too bad. It's rainy here, but definitely doable. Got to see how to make a transition and switch to another approach there. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button. I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and sign up for notifications so you see more videos like this. I got one more flight to do in this series. Will be our last flight back to London, Ontario, where we started all. This is our 26th episode, and it'll be 27 flights total to get around the world in the Diamond DA62. Quite an epic trip. If you're interested in doing it, it should be a lot of fun. There's lots of great GA airplanes to do this kind of trip in. I definitely recommend this airplane though, it's been really good. Yeah, so our next leg will be from Winnipeg to London. Should be about same distance as today's trip, probably about 4.5 hour flight or so, depending on the winds. And then we'll park it back at the Diamond Factory where we started all this out. We'll give them plane back to them because I certainly couldn't afford to buy this plane. Probably cost about 1.5 million US to buy it. So definitely not a cheap airplane, but it definitely is a really nice airplane. So here we are, parking brake set. We'll get our taxi light off, and we'll get our engine masters off, and that's it. Welcome to Winnipeg. So that's it for today's flight. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time on the Bandit Flight Simmer channel. Thanks. So long, Bandit out.